Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. As-salatu was-salamu ala Sayyidina al-Mursaleen wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'een. Dear and respected brothers and sisters, Eid Mubarak. I'm delighted to bring you this special episode of how to manage social distancing on Eid. Now, I know this is no hot topic and it's not very exciting, but it's a reality for us all. And what I want to do is take a few moments to just reflect on what this means for us, and where we stand with this as believers, and how we can make the best out of our Eid, inshallah, so it leaves us with lasting and fond memories. Eid, as we know, is a day of great forgiveness and gratitude. And when Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu questioned why two girls were singing, the Prophet ﷺ advised that this is their Eid and let them be. So it's a day of happiness, and we should remember that whatever we are going through as believers, there is always goodness in it for us. And that the reward of patience is unlimited, it lies only with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So with this, I'd like to start initially with the verse from Surah Al-Ma'idah, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that he who saves a life, it is as though he has saved the whole of humanity, and he who takes a life, it is as though he's taken the life of the whole of humanity. And I think this is the key here. It's about our social responsibility as believers. It's about understanding that our actions may not lead necessarily to detriment to ourselves, but we may be responsible directly for the death of other people who are more vulnerable in the community. And the only way to really get on top of coronavirus is by observing social distancing and reducing the rate of spread and infection. The other hadith I want to share with you just quickly at the outset is the hadith about a plague. The Prophet was asked about this, and he advised that if you are in a land that's been afflicted by plague, do not enter it, do not leave it, and do not enter it. So it's very, very important, again, not to spread disease and infection. So with this, I'm going to have a look at some of something from history, really, about the Spanish flu. So, history tends to repeat itself over and again, and our nearest example is probably the Spanish flu of 1918. Now, this was a pandemic in which over 500 million people lost their lives, and largely a lot of the deaths actually happened in the second wave. So the Spanish flu lasted 2 years. There were 3 waves of the infection, and a lot of the deaths were actually in the second wave. And we are now at that phase where people feel more relaxed and they feel more able to go out and do things. As we come out of lockdown to preserve the economy, it doesn't mean that coronavirus has relaxed any rules for us. And we should be acutely aware of this, especially on Eid. If we want to live to see our relatives and our friends and our family the next Eid and thereafter by Allah's will, then we should observe social distancing and not put other people at risk unnecessarily. The other thing to observe is that as a community, we are much more at risk than other people. Coronavirus, COVID-19, has disproportionately affected people from black and minority ethnic communities, meaning Asian people and black people and people of not white origin, as well as people with diabetes. We know 1/4 of our Muslim community is diabetic, and males, people over 50, people with underlying health conditions, and then of course the usual factors, so overcrowded households, poverty, deprivation, which are particularly predominant in our communities. So it's up to us, if we love for our brother what we love for ourselves, it's up to us to actually treat them as we would want to be treated. We wouldn't want somebody else to give us infection, illness, and we should be aware not to put other people at risk either. So with this message of seriousness, I'd like to say stay home, stay safe, and save lives. And what does this mean in real terms? This means this Eid, you do not meet your family or friends, you do not go to gardens and have barbecue parties as some people have been planning, you do not go and have a big mass gathering in a park, you do not go inside people's homes. You stay home and you stay safe, and you keep other people safe, and you protect the NHS. So moving on from this, I'd like to come back and revisit the idea that Eid is a day of forgiveness and gratitude. And there are many ways that we can enact these things. Firstly, of course, we know that if a believer makes a dua for another believer behind their back, then the angels say Ameen, and the same for them. So this is a time for us, if we really love one another, actually to be praying for one another. We can spread salams, pick up the phone and speak to people. In fact, make a list beforehand of all your family and friends that you haven't spoken to. Make sure that you connect your ties. You could, for example, arrange a Zoom meeting where you get together with everybody. You know, put it into your schedule, make sure everybody's on. Make it a day when you praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala abundantly, and a day where you give in charity. Remember, smiling is a charity, and that joking, laughing and playing with your family, these are all highly rewardable things from the Sunnah, and we shouldn't overlook their importance. So where is the silver lining in this grey cloud, this cloud that's been with us now for some months? Well, as I said before, the reward of patience is unlimited. But there are other things that we can do to try and keep ourselves happy and overcome some of the sadness that we might be feeling. Firstly, we can try and maintain normality as much as possible. So when we follow the Sunnah, that makes it easy for us. So we know that we have a routine. We wake up early, we make our ghusl, we have an odd number of dates. We can go and do the Eid Takbirat, remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and perhaps listen to a reminder, a khutbah, or even do a virtual Eid Salah if you follow that opinion. Remember to give your zakat al-fitr beforehand. Put on your best clothes. Remember, if you're at home, you don't need to put your hijab on, so you can actually dress up nicely. Wear your best clothes, put some nasheeds on, build up the atmosphere at home. Decorate your home. If you go to eidparty.co.uk, you can get some lovely lanterns and balloons and paper plates and whatever else. Now, I know I previously did a video on how to eat healthily on Eid, but I will say here, there's a disclaimer, it's Eid. If you want to order in a takeaway for that one day, you can do. Just follow the advice around moderation. And play some fun games with your family. Perhaps put together a treasure hunt or a quiz or a charades or something that really brings you together. The other thing is about emotional connection. So how do we build emotional connection? We've already spoken about creating a dua list. We've talked about picking up the phone and speaking to friends and family and scheduling in your Zoom meeting. You could also perhaps, schedule in a movie that you share with other family and friends, so you can go on Zoom and do a screen share, watch a movie together, or use Kahoot and put together a quiz. Remember to send your Eid cards. You can post them out, you can post out small gifts, or you can send out virtual Eid cards. You could perhaps order in a nice meal for friends or family, for your parents as a treat, and let them know beforehand they won't be cooking on Eid. Also, take lots of pictures, share your pictures, record a special voice message, or even make a family Eid movie using iMovie. You can all animate it and put it together and edit it and send it around. I'm sure that would put a lot of smiles on faces. And the last thing I'm going to talk about is journaling, so creating a bespoke Eid journal. So for this, you'll need to get a beautiful diary, journal, or a scrapbook, something that's going to be memorable and that's going to be with you for some time. You want a family journal to record this Eid. Of course, if you're alone, it's slightly different, but you can still connect with other family members across the globe and create a collective journal. In this, what you want to do is record your feelings this particular Eid openly and honestly, and make sure you do these by hand and not in a typed fashion, because what that happens when your brain is processing is a very, very different process. And then I'd like you to record 3 things that you're very grateful for that particular Eid day, inshallah. Write them down. And write down also after that some of the greatest openings of discoveries that you've had this Ramadan, and that will be very different for each of us. This has been a unique Ramadan where we have been in lockdown, we've been unable to go for Taraweeh and socialise in normal fashion, but many of us will have had spiritual and personal insights, and this is a time to note them down. Include some positive photos from the day, photos of you having fun and celebrating the day, and then share your journal with one another. So that is going to open up channels of communication with your family, help you to process feelings and give you a sense of solidarity. So with this, I'd like to say Eid Mubarak, taqabbal Allah minna wa minkum. Stay home, stay safe, save lives. Ma'as salama.